Not every word that reaches you was meant to reach you. Some messages pass by and leave nothing behind. Others stop you in the middle of something ordinary. A commute, a sleepless night, a quiet Tuesday when you weren't looking for anything in particular, and something in you goes still. If something in you became quiet when this began, stay. Not because you are being asked to, but because your spirit may already know something your mind has not found words for yet. You did not find this message. Something in you called for it, and it answered. This is not a message for everyone. Some people will move on, and that is right for them. But if you are still here, breathing slowly, feeling something unnamed start to surface, then stay with me. We have somewhere to go together. There is a particular kind of tired that does not come from lack of sleep. You have felt it. The weight of being someone who was never made to slot into things easily, and spending years trying anyway. The effort of monitoring yourself in real time, before you speak, while you speak, after you speak. Running a constant internal calculation of whether the version of you that just showed up was too much or not enough. You kept replaying the same conversation on the drive home, not because you wanted to hold on to it, but because something in the tone did not match the words, and your spirit caught the gap before your mind could name it. You smiled through dinner. You answered texts on time. You showed up. You kept showing up. But somewhere underneath all of it, there was a quiet grief you had been carrying so long you almost forgot it was grief. You thought it was just who you were. You know the specific feeling of being in a room full of people and still feeling like you arrived from somewhere slightly different. Not worse, not better, just different. Like a frequency that is tuned correctly, but the speaker was built for something else. Everyone else seemed to know the rhythm, the jokes, the unspoken rules of how to be here, and you were always 1/2 second behind, translating. So you learned to perform. Not dishonestly. You weren't faking kindness, but you started editing, softening the sharp parts of your perception, answering with less than you were actually thinking, letting things slide that your whole body said to name. You learned to make yourself more comfortable to be around, and in doing that, you quietly agreed to something that cost you more than you realized. You lay awake some nights with a heaviness in your chest that had no specific source. Nothing dramatic had happened, no crisis. Just a dull, consistent sense that the life you were fitting into was not quite the life that was supposed to be yours. And the hardest part was that you couldn't explain it to anyone without sounding ungrateful or confused or lost. You are none of those things. You are someone whose assignment requires a different kind of soil than what you have been standing in. Listen to me carefully, because this part matters. A seed planted in wrong soil does not fail because something is wrong with the seed. It struggles because the environment was never designed to hold what it carries. The seed pushes against the ground. It sprouts badly. It grows sideways, searching. People look at it and say it isn't thriving. Nobody questions the soil. You have been that seed. Every room where you felt out of place. Every relationship where you had to shrink to stay. Every job, every circle, every season where you tried harder and harder to adapt to a container that was built for a different shape. The problem was never that you were too much. The problem was soil that could not hold roots like yours. And here is what nobody says out loud. When a seed is in wrong soil, the most faithful thing it can do is refuse to stop growing, even awkwardly, even slowly, even without being celebrated for it. The refusal to fully wither was not stubbornness. It was obedience to something alive inside you that knew, even when you didn't, that you were made for different ground. The sensitivity you were told to tone down, that is your discernment. The thing that lets you notice what people don't say. The way you read a room before you have spoken a single word. The way your body knows something is off before your mind can produce evidence. That is not a liability. That has always been information. The loneliness of the seasons where you were pulled away from noise, from crowds, from groups that felt almost right. That was not abandonment. That was separation. God does not remove what you love without a reason. Sometimes the space around you gets cleared so that you can hear what you could not hear while everyone was talking. The silence you resented was where your actual assignment started to take shape. The delays, the doors that wouldn't open, the plans that fell apart right before completion. Not every closed door is failure. Some of them were protection. You would have stayed in the wrong room if that door had opened, and your purpose would have been spent building someone else's vision while your own calling sat unopened. What hurt you was not holy. Don't let anyone tell you the pain itself was the gift. The pain was not the gift. But what was built in you during the pain? The discernment, the depth, the ability to sit with hard truth without running from it. That is another matter. That belongs to you now, and it cannot be taken back. I want to place a mirror in front of you, and I want you to look at it without flinching. Not because there is something wrong with you. The opposite. The mirror is so you can see what you have been agreeing to. Not because you are weak, but because you were trying to survive. And surviving sometimes requires us to make quiet contracts with the environments we are trying to belong to. Think about when you first learned that the full version of you was too much for someone. Maybe it was early. Maybe it was in a family that needed you to be easier. Maybe it was a friendship where you felt the shift in temperature the moment you stopped agreeing. Maybe it was a relationship where love started coming with conditions so fine you couldn't see them at first, and by the time you could, you had already rearranged yourself around them. You agreed to be smaller, not in one dramatic moment, in hundreds of small ones. The question you didn't ask because you sensed it would make the room uncomfortable. The opinion you softened before you delivered it. The tears you saved for the car, the shower, the 10-minute window before you had to be fine again. The way you started bracing yourself before you spoke, not for the content, but for the reception. You agreed that your peace was less urgent than their calm, that your fullness was less important than their comfort, that love meant making yourself easy to hold, and anything about you that was hard to hold was something to apologize for. The truth is not here to shame you for that. You are sitting in a mirror right now, not a courtroom. Nobody is being convicted. You were doing what felt necessary in a season when you hadn't yet found the language for what you were actually experiencing. But something in you knows that you are done agreeing. The exhaustion you feel is not weakness. It is your body telling you that the old contract has expired. You cannot keep carrying what you were never meant to carry forever. The version of you that twisted itself into corners to be acceptable, that version did its job. It got you here, but it is not who you are, and it is not who you are called to be going forward. You were never the problem. You were seed in wrong soil, patient for too long, but patient for a reason. So today, something ends. Not in anger, not in performance, not so you can take a screenshot and prove something to anyone watching. This moment is quiet, and it is yours, and it does not need an audience. Today, you release the agreement that your worth is something you earn by being easy to carry. Let it go. Wherever your body is holding that belief, in your shoulders, your jaw, your chest, the place where you brace yourself before you speak, let it loosen. You do not have to earn your place in this world by being smaller than you are. You release the version of love that required you to disappear. Not because love isn't real or beautiful, but because what was being offered under that name was not love. It was management. And you were not made to be managed. You were made to be known. There is a difference. And somewhere in you, you have always known the difference. You release the need to be understood by people who are committed to seeing only a version of you that makes them comfortable. Some people will never understand you, and that is not your mission to fix. Your assignment does not require their comprehension. It only requires your willingness. You release the grief of the rooms that didn't choose you fully. Let that grief be real for one moment. Those rejections cost something. The friendships that faded when you stopped performing. The seasons where you extended yourself toward people who were not extending back. That loss was real. You are allowed to feel it without pretending it was nothing. And then you let it go. Not because it didn't matter, because holding it is keeping you in a conversation that has already ended. I declare over your life that the season of fitting into the wrong shape is over. Not because you finally became someone easier to handle, but because you finally became someone who refuses to handle themselves that way anymore. I declare that your purpose does not require the permission of anyone who was only ever meant to be passing through your life. Doors open on an assignment that was written before you learned to shrink. Nothing that tried to bury you was ever more powerful than what God placed inside you. Let this be the moment, not in noise, in a breath, in stillness, in the quiet agreement that the old version of you served its season, and this is a new one. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to stop explaining. You are allowed to walk into your assignment without first receiving everyone's blessing. Go. Now I want to speak slowly, because this part is practical. Stop explaining your piece to people who profit from your confusion. When you are settled and clear about a decision, the moment you begin explaining it to someone who has consistently misread you, you are not seeking counsel. You are seeking permission you were never going to receive. Not every decision needs a defense. Some things you simply do, quietly, because your spirit said it was time. Watch repeated behavior across time, not the emotional apology in the hard moment, not the promise made when someone was afraid of losing you. Watch what they do 6 months later when the pressure has passed and they think you're not paying attention anymore. That is the real information. Single conversations can be performed. Months cannot. Give your body real rest after a survival season. If you've been running on adrenaline and will for a long time, months, years, a whole chapter of your life, your nervous system does not automatically understand that the emergency has passed. You have to tell it in the language of slowness, of quiet, of one full day where nothing is required of you. Rest is not laziness in the aftermath of a long war. It is medicine. Pray for clarity before you pray for access, because an open door in the wrong direction is still the wrong direction. Before you ask for the relationship, the opportunity, the yes, ask first, is this where my assignment actually lives? Let the answer come before you move toward the door. Be careful with the soft parts of yourself, not by hardening them. The softness is not a flaw. It is one of your sharpest tools. But soft things placed in rough hands get damaged, and the world will keep asking you to hand over the vulnerable parts of yourself to people who have not earned them. You are allowed to say, "Not these hands." You are allowed to take your softness somewhere safer. Finally, let silence do its work. Not every situation requires your response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is become very quiet and watch what rises in the space where your reaction used to go. Silence is not absence. In the right moment, silence is a declaration. If this message gave language to something your spirit has been carrying, you can mark this moment for yourself. Not to prove it to anyone, not because a blessing is contingent on a button, but because there is something in the act of naming a moment, of saying, "This is where something shifted for me," that makes the shift more real. If something in this message broke open for you, write one sentence in the comments, something true, something yours. Maybe it's, "My purpose does not require their permission." Maybe it's, "I release the old room." Maybe it's just, "I heard this." Whatever is honest for you, write it down. Not for an algorithm, for yourself. If you want to walk with a community of people who are choosing clarity over comfort, who are done apologizing for being different, who are learning what it means to live in the right soil, subscribe. This space was built for that. If there is someone in your life who is in the middle of the same exhaustion, who has been shrinking, who has been trying to fit, who has been lying awake wondering why the version of them that shows up in the world never quite feels whole, send them this. Not with a lecture, just send it. Let them decide what to do with it. You don't have to carry this alone. God bless you. Stay in your assignment. The world does not need a smaller version of you. It needs the one you were actually made to be. Father, I want to speak on behalf of every person who stayed with this message until the end, not because they had nowhere else to be, but because something in them recognized that they needed to hear it. You know what this season has cost them. The nights they spent in the quiet, carrying weight that didn't have a name yet. The conversations they replayed alone, looking for the exact moment when something shifted and the room they were trying to belong to stopped feeling like home. The versions of themselves they traded away, piece by piece, trying to fit into spaces that were never built for them. You saw all of it. You were there for every moment of it, even when they couldn't feel you. I thank you for keeping them, for the closed doors that confused them but protected them, for the people who left, even when it broke something open, because your plan was larger than the room they were standing in. I thank you that survival in your economy is never the end of the sentence. You do not save people from things and then leave them empty. You save people from things and then begin to show them what the saving was for. Now, God, I ask you for clarity. Where confusion has been sitting in their chest like a stone, let it lift. Where they have been circling the same question for months, let an answer arrive. Not necessarily loud, not necessarily dramatic, but clear enough to move toward. Where they have been asking, "What am I supposed to do with my life?" and hearing only silence, let this season be where the assignment begins to take shape in front of them. Give them peace, not the fragile kind that depends on everyone around them being calm, but the kind that holds even when the room is loud, even when someone is disappointed in them, even when the path forward looks uncertain. The peace that says, "I know what I am. I know whose I am. I know what I am called to do." That kind of peace is not a feeling, it is a foundation. Build it in them. Protect them from returning to what they just released. The old rooms have a way of calling back. Old agreements have a way of whispering in familiar voices. When the loneliness knocks and the old season offers itself as comfort, remind them of the cost. Let them remember what it felt like to shrink, and let that memory be enough to keep walking forward. Bless the next chapter with rest, with wisdom, with courage that doesn't announce itself loudly, but simply shows up when they need to take the next step. And let them leave this moment lighter than they arrived. May the old agreement lose its voice. May their peace become something they protect fiercely. May they stop apologizing for being exactly what you made them to be. And may they never again confuse the place that broke them with the place they are called to stay. In your name and with gratitude. Amen.